Good morning, everybody. I hope you're very, very well. I wanted to share a couple of things that will help you today in growing your business. The first one is if you're not using LinkedIn, or if you're using LinkedIn erratically, you need to be consistent. You need to be on there day in, day out, connecting with people, building relationships, sharing your thoughts, sharing your insights, not just sharing other people's stuff, because then they never get to see you, the real you. And people buy from people. They don't buy from profiles. They don't buy from anything else. They want to know, are you a decent person and do you know what you're talking about? So number one, be on LinkedIn, but be on consistently. 38% of people, B2B businesses on LinkedIn are generating revenue from LinkedIn. If you're not generating revenue from LinkedIn and you're a B2B business, there is a problem. You have a problem, because 38% are. So 62% probably aren't. And they're not doing it because they don't know what they're doing. They're trying to do something without knowing what they're trying to achieve. They're probably not a goal. They don't understand the platform. They're too aggressive. They're not active enough. Lots of different reasons. And I could, if you want to talk about the reasons, drop me a line and I'll talk you through it. Or you can come to one of my courses that I do. But you need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be actively using it and not just actively using it to sell. Number one. Number two, email marketing. Email marketing still does work. There's a lot of scaremongering that's happened about GDPR, but let me try and clear some of this up, because I get asked this question a lot. GDPR is about the collection, storage, and management of other people's data. That's what it's about. And there are a few lawful reasons. You can go on the Information Commissioner's website and it'll tell you all about the lawful reasons. Now, when this came out, a lot of people made a lot of money being GDPR consultants, telling you must do this, you must do that, and you must do the other. And one of the big ones was you have to get explicit consent from people to opt in. Now, everybody's email list was absolutely decimated by following that advice. Since then, and again, I'm not a lawyer, and this will get clarified in the years to come, but this is where it sits right now. Since then, one of those reasons is legitimate interest. So, if you were sending more product updates to a customer, and I'm going to stick with B2B here because the B2C world is a minefield, and I don't have the capability or competence to talk about it confidently. So I'm keeping B2C out of it because there's far better and more professional people who can talk you through that bit. But B2B, so we're talking about a company to a company. You can reasonably rely on legitimate interest as a reason to contact a previous customer. Whether that be dropping them an email to say, hey, we've got a special on, or whether it's, hey, I'd love to come see you, or whatever. GDPR did not make email marketing illegal. That is the biggest pile of BS you will ever be told. It's rubbish. What GDPR did was make sure that data wasn't abused. However, if you can find people's email addresses in the public domain, if you can find it from a legally and compliant source, and they are a business, you can legitimately contact them. Legitimately. Now, if you bang them into a newsletter, and let me define a newsletter for a minute. If you use some email software like Salesforce or something, or HubSpot as a CRM with email integration, and you're just following up messages, I don't count that as a newsletter. If you're using MailChimp to send out image-heavy newsletters, that is a newsletter. So if you use some kind of email automation system, that isn't illegal. If you start piling people into what I'd class as a newsletter that comes out every month or every week or whatever, that's an unlawful basis to do it, because they never actually asked for that. But if you want to contact people every now and then and just say, hey, I'd love to chat to you, or hey, that's perfectly okay. Let me ask you this. If GDPR email marketing or any form of emailing people without their consent was ruled illegal, how would your customers make inquiries? How would this? So there's a whole lack of understanding, and a lady I'm connected with made an inquiry to the Information Commissioner, and they basically came back and said, look, you may, they won't say you can, because nobody says that in the real world, because they're all trying to cover the butts. You may be able to rely on legitimate interest to contact people at companies, whether that be an info at or a john.smith or whatever, to reach out to them, i.e. to contact them, to solicit for business. But you must allow them to opt out, and it must be reasonable, a reasonable interest. So let's, for an example, let's say you were, I don't know, a commercial property consultant, and you were emailing a mobile plumber about properties. That wouldn't necessarily be relevant, would it? But if you were emailing a growing business about that, it probably would be relevant, and you'd have to give them the option to opt out if they did not want it. So that's number 2. Email marketing still works. I'm consistently showing clients how to get 40, 50, 60% open rates, and they get the results. But you really have to be very, very careful and very smart and wise about how you use data, how you acquire the data, how you manage the data. And even then, you will get some people complaining, saying you have no right to email me. But in a B2B world, if their email's in the public domain, and you have a legitimate reason to contact them that may be relevant to them, you're in the clear. Don't rely on this fully advised, because there's always somebody ready to say you said. But that's the general advice. You can make an inquiry to the ICO and ask this question yourself. I would advise you to do it. It takes them about 7 to 8 weeks to reply, but you will get the same advice that I've had and that many others have had. And the rumours and the misinformation and the myth about email marketing being illegal will still continue. So that's number 2. Number 3, if you're not good at planning, if you're rubbish at organisation, yeah, and I'm not the world's best organizer by any means, but what I suggest to people is, if you have a plan, right, and you're struggling to make this big document, this huge document that you need, make series of plans. So you go, right, I'm going to take an A4 piece of paper and say, this is where I want to be in 5 years, and write a whole load of lists. And then write a list of all the things that you're going to get there. And then make little plans, like 3-month plan, and then that fits into your little 5-year plan. And you might have like 20 A4 pieces of paper, but it'll be really, really easy for you to follow, rather than try and be something really clever. Just make a series of A4 papers and make plans, and then bring that down from a macro of 5 to a 1-year plan. And just go in January we're going to do this, in February we're going to do this, in March we're going to do this, and these are our goals. And then don't forget, what a lot of businesses do is they make a plan. So they'll make a 5-year business plan or whatever, and say, this is how we're going to grow, and this is the money and how the revenue is going to grow, and all this kind of stuff. And then they'll have a really high level kind of strategy. But then when you get into it, there's no actual tactics. So the plan's there, and we go, right, what do we do now? How are we going to get there? What are the actual steps? And often this big business growth plan that's been planned comes down to an administrator or somebody else figuring out what they should do to hit that. And that's not really a way to do it. So when you make a plan, let's say over the next 12 months you're looking to grow and you're looking to add 10% onto your revenue or whatever. What customers do you want? How many new customers and how many new orders or how many new sales do you want to make each month? Fine. Right. What does that boil down to? 2 new customers a month? 3 new customers a month? 100 new customers a month? Right. Now, we know we need to get 100 customers a month. What are the actual practical steps we're going to take to get those 100 customers each month? And then you've got a series of actions you can follow. And if you follow them day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, and tweak and adjust and iterate, guess what? You'll hit your goal. But a lot of people stay so high, when it comes down to it, they don't execute on a practical level because they don't have a practical plan. So there's 3 things that I want to share with you today. Use LinkedIn. Email marketing still works and is clever and works, and investigate the myths of GDPR. And number 3, have a plan with tactical steps. So have a great, great weekend, guys. I'm signing out, and I'll see you again soon.